Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Brittany, this is the Brittany Reacts Show, and on this show we talk all things movies and entertainment. We have a lot, like a huge diverse group of news stories today. Like, I didn't realize how much news dropped this week until I was gathering all of my stories for the show, and I was like, oh, this could be a long stream, so fair warning, just make sure you're comfy, make sure you get a snack or something, I don't know, because we might be here for a little bit over an hour, depending, but we do have a lot to go over. We're going to talk about the fact that Cynthia Erivo did respond to all the Wicked Backlash, so we're going to read her comment. We're going to talk about the fact that, we're going to review the final Agatha episodes, obviously. I want to give you my full thoughts on the whole show and everything. We just found out that Rachel Zegler won't be in the next Hunger Games movie, so that's interesting. We have a whole bunch of shows and movies that are getting announced, and some are even getting canceled, so like I said, a lot to go over, but I do want to say hi to you guys. Hi Juan, hi Fake Mustache, hi Josh, hi Cheetah Viper, hi Phaedro, hi Sunset Draws, hi Alexander, hi Margot, hi DeBoy, hi Arvin. Thank you to each and every one of you. I know Natanya's in there. Thank you for coming all the time. You guys are always here on time, sometimes even early, and I do deeply appreciate you guys for just actually coming to my show and bothering to watch week to week. I do appreciate it. Sorry, I also have not gotten the opportunity to post more shorts. I did want to do that, but between the show and my other job, my life is busy at the moment, so sorry about being a little bit quiet during the week, but I'm going to try to work on that. But anyway, I'm glad you got your Wicked tickets, Alexander. They're really hard to get in New York. Like, this movie is selling extremely well, so I'm very happy about that. But like I said, we do have a lot to go over, so I do want to just jump straight into the box office news. Alright, so, Joker! Joker's continuing to do, like, the worst. Just the worst. The budget was $200 million. Remember, they gave it a bigger budget than the first one because the first one did so well, so they thought, oh yeah, the sequel's a safe bet, obviously. But it's not. It's only grossed about $200 million globally so far, and you guys know that the studios don't get to keep all of that money, so they're losing a lot of money on this movie. It's a huge flop, a huge disaster. I don't want it to hurt Lady Gaga, but it could, and that sucks because I'm a really big fan of hers. Just huge disaster all the way around. In fact, but I will say, Quentin Tarantino agrees with me. I told you guys in my review, if you didn't watch my review, make sure you go and watch that I actually like this movie more than most, although I can understand why hardcore Joker fans wouldn't like the film, because it's very much an anti-Joker movie. But I appreciated it for what it was going for, and I did like it. And there are a few others who are saying that, like I said, that they think this movie might age well. And I really do believe that Joker 2 will age well. That's my prediction anyway. But anyway, Quentin Tarantino said that he really liked it a lot. He said that Todd Phillips says, F you to movie audiences, F you to Hollywood. He's saying F you to owners of any stock at DC and Warner Brothers. So Quentin really likes Joker 2 because he sees that movie as like going against the system, going against the studios, and he's really into that. I really like Joker because I liked the psychological exploration of Arthur's mind. I thought that was an interesting angle to go down, so that's why I liked it, but I just like that there's more other prominent people coming out now and saying, like, hey, I actually like Joker 2. I know a number of you disagree. I know a number of you hated that movie. But I really do think Joker 2 will be reappraised over time. But what do you guys think about Joker's just disastrous box office and everything? It's already on digital. It's already on digital 25 days after its theatrical release. Really embarrassing. Cheetah Viper says he went for Gaga. She's the only part you liked. Yeah, I thought Gaga was really good in the movie. Yeah, Margot. I just think that the audience that likes Joker doesn't like musicals. I think that's why the reaction was so negative. Oh, fake mustache, you're not even gonna watch it on streaming? Come on, you guys gotta at least give it a chance. Josh says, Todd Phillips complaining that ads shouldn't play in theaters before movies, yet nobody went to see Joker 2. Yeah, I do disagree with that comment. I know what comment you're talking about, Josh. Todd Phillips, the director of Joker, said he doesn't think that ads should run before the movie, and I completely disagree with that. I think that that's like the best marketing that Hollywood still has. They need those trailers before a movie so people know what's coming out. So yeah, I definitely agree with you, Josh. But anyway, I just think that it's fascinating because they just knew this was going to be like a surefire hit, and it's definitely not. So we'll see what happens to the talent involved here, but I'm really curious to see what Lady Gaga's next move will be, because it's going to have to be something to save her acting career, unfortunately. Moving on, Smile 2 crossed 100 million globally. It only had a budget of 28 million, so it will make a profit. I just saw Smile 2 yesterday, actually. I finally saw it. I really liked it. You guys know I don't really care for horror, but this one, I like how Smile is like the demon basically makes you go insane. And I just thought, again, the psychological aspect of it I thought was interesting. So I liked this movie a lot more than I thought I would, because you guys know I don't like horror. But I have to say, I do recommend Smile 2. I thought this was actually a really solid movie. So I'm glad that it's doing okay. I wouldn't say it's doing amazing, because it's only 100 million globally. But it's at least doing enough that they'll definitely make a Smile 3, so I'll be there to see that. Especially because of how this movie ended. I'm very curious to see how that, like, affects what goes on in the next movie. Have any of you guys seen these Smile films? Are you interested in them at all? I thought she was really good as Sky Riley. I thought she was so good. There were certain points in this movie where I thought that if, you know, the Academy liked horror, I thought her performance was near Oscar worthy. Like, I thought she was that good, and she had a lot to do. I mean, she had to go insane, and I really felt her, like, desperation and just, like, anguish over what was going on. Like, this was not an easy role to play, and I thought she pulled it off really well. So yeah, I thought she was great in the movie. You actually don't really need to see the first one. I actually haven't seen the first one either, but I went because someone else wanted to go with me. You don't need to see the first one to understand this one. They do a good job of explaining everything you need to know. But anyway, if you haven't seen the Smile movies, I can finally say I do recommend them, and you should go check them out. Wild Robot continues to do really well, 260 million globally. It's already gotten a sequel announcement, so obviously DreamWorks is happy with its performance. It only had a $78 million budget, so it's helpful that the budget is small. I think if it was a larger budget, they might not have seen this as a success. But because it only cost $78 million, obviously they're happy with that. So very, very happy about that. I'm curious to see if this can manage to beat Inside Out 2 for the Best Animated Picture, like, Oscar. I'm pretty sure it's going to be between this movie and Inside Out 2 for Best Animated Feature this year. And for the longest, I thought Inside Out 2 had it in the bag. But I really feel like The Wild Robot is connecting with particularly the Oscar audience, like the film, people who really love movies, like they're really connecting with this movie. And I feel like The Wild Robot could really surprise Pixar and possibly beat Inside Out 2 for the Oscar. I really think that it's the underdog here, but I think it still has a chance. Between those two movies, who would you guys see winning Best Animated Feature between this and Inside Out 2? Because I think it's going to be between them. You don't want Transformers to win? Okay. Yeah, it's a bit like the Iron Giant, but I do think it's different enough that it stands on its own. Any thoughts before we move on? I'm just really happy that, like, this is getting as much recognition as it did, because you guys knew as soon as I saw the trailer. As soon as I saw just the trailer for this movie, I knew it was going to be something special. I could just tell from watching the trailer that I was like, you know what? I think this movie's going to be something interesting. And I was right. So I'm glad that I was right. I would have been really disappointed if this movie was bad. Fake Mustache thinks Inside Out 2 is going to win. Editing Geek thinks Inside Out 2. But yeah, it seems like everyone thinks Inside Out 2. But I still think Wild Robot has a chance. We'll see, though. We'll see. Speaking of... Well, this is a really old movie. Obviously, Quantumania came out quite a bit ago. But I had to bring this up because I thought this was interesting. So, Quantumania is well known for being, a huge disaster. It caused one of the Marvel executives to get fired. It was not seen as a success at all. It had a huge budget. We now know it cost $388 million. Oh my gosh, why do their movies cost so much? That's insane. But apparently it made a small net profit somehow, which is crazy. I think that's probably with like all of the brand deals that they had, plus money they made on like the auxiliary market. So I'm thinking there must be other ways this movie must have like got the cost down, even though the budget was so huge, because I don't see how this is possible. Because that movie made like no money, but somehow it still made about $88,000. I mean, that's nothing. Obviously, they would have liked to make more than that, but at least it didn't lose money. So I just found this to be really surprising. So I wanted to share with you. And I know, even you guys in my chat are like, how in the world did this cost $388 million? Especially when that movie is so bad. Like, it just seems like a giant waste of money when you spend almost $400 million to make one movie, and then it turns out as bad as this one. Like, what happened? Like, where did this money go? Like, the visual effects didn't even look good or even finished in some cases. So, I don't understand how this movie costed this much. That is insane. But somehow, still made money? I don't know. I find this to be quite shocking, but I don't know. Forbes is reporting it, so I'm inclined to believe Forbes. That budget makes you want to cry, Matthew? Oh, that's very funny. Yeah. And the funny thing is, we know this is the budget now, but back then, they were trying to say the budget was a lot smaller. So that's why whenever we get, like, whenever a studio says, oh yeah, this movie cost X amount, I always take that with a grain of salt because I don't entirely believe them. I think a lot of them are underreporting how much they're actually spending on these movies. And this is just one example of that, because I'm pretty sure they were trying to say this movie was, like, made for around $250 million back then. And now we're seeing it was actually almost 400. So yeah, I would take any budget announcement like with a grain of salt because they're probably underreporting it. I think they're doing that a lot, actually. I know, the MODOK face. They spent nearly $400 million and we still got that MODOK face. Like, how? How did they do that? But anyway, moving on. So Venom. Also not doing very good. You guys know I hated this movie. I hated this movie even more than Joker 2. That's how much I did not like this movie. Even though I kind of like Joker 2, but like, I genuinely thought Venom The Last Dance was just awful. I thought it was terrible. It underperformed. It earned only $51 million in its domestic box office opening weekend, the lowest of the trilogy so far, and it had a budget of $120 million. Now, thankfully, it is doing better overseas, where it made $175 million. So, this movie might be saved by its overseas box office. But yeah, domestically, it's not doing well at all. Not even a little bit. I mean, globally, it's now at $310 million. So, it might do okay. It might break even. It might be fine. But, like, obviously, it's going to make a lot less than the previous two Venoms. So I think it's a good idea to end this franchise with Venom 3 because I don't think that there's any more juice left in this tank. I think by Venom 4, this movie probably would have just outright flopped. So I'm glad that they're ending it at Venom 3. I don't think there's really any like area to take the story further. I just thought it was awful. I thought this movie was so bad. So the fact that it's managing to make this much is surprising even to me. So at least there's some diehard Tom Hardy fans out there, or at least maybe some Venom fans. I don't know. I don't really know what the appeal of these movies are anymore. I haven't liked them since the first one, but Apparently, people overseas kind of still like these movies, but I don't know. But what do you guys think about these movies? Are you interested in more Venom? Are you surprised that this one is the lowest performing? Are you surprised, if you're living overseas, are you surprised that the movie is doing well where you live compared to here? Like, do you think it's a bigger deal in other countries than it is in the United States? I want to hear your thoughts. You're still watching Kraven the Hunter, Nagisa? Why? I gotta tell you guys, I've actually been like trying to weigh whether or not I even want to see Kraven the Hunter. The only reason I would watch that movie is for you guys. The only reason I'd watch that movie is so I can review it for you guys. I have zero negative interest in that movie. Not even zero. Just a net negative interest. It looks like Morbius. It looks like Madam Web. It looks like Venom 3. And I'm just like having horror flashbacks of sitting in the theater being like, what is this movie? I don't want to see Kraven the Hunter. Are you guys going to make me see Kraven the Hunter? I will if you really want me to review it. I will for you guys. But I gotta be honest. There's not a bone in me that wants to see that movie. But I will if you want me to roast it. A roast might be fun. Angel Barrera, thank you so much for the super chat. Venom had a false advertisement problem. They teased having Spider-Man with trailers twice. Yeah, they kept trying to tease, like, that Spider-Man might show up in these Venom movies, but he obviously never did. I think that's so dumb. I think Sony's whole strategy of their Sony Spider-Man cinematic universe is really dumb. They should have just had a cinematic universe of multiple Spider-Men. Like, what if we had, you know, Tom Holland's Peter Parker, but then we also had a Miles Morales, and we also had a live-action Gwen Stacy, and we also have, like, a live-action, like, all these different Spider people. I feel like those movies would have done a lot better than these spin-off villain movies that aren't really working. I feel like their whole approach to the Spider-Man cinematic universe has been dumb from the start. I don't understand why they decided to focus on the villains and not the multiple spider people that are in their arsenal. Like, that just seems like a mistake to me. Like, the most obvious, like, mistake. And I don't get it. I don't get it. Would you guys want to see multiple Spider-Man in a Spider-Man cinematic universe? I mean, you have to agree that at least sounds better than what we're getting, right? A fake mustache. You don't have to suffer for us. Okay. You guys are being very kind. You're saying I don't have to see it. Oh, but Josh would love a roast, though. Maybe I should roast it. Yeah, where's the Spider-Gwen movie, Cheetah Viper? I really feel like a live-action Spider-Gwen movie would do pretty well. Yeah, I don't know why they're focusing on the villains. That just doesn't make any sense to me. But I'm seeing you guys, most of you are saying I don't have to suffer. We'll see, we'll see. I just don't want to see that movie. But anyway, moving on. Oh, we spent too long on that one. Like I said, we have a lot to go over. So, did you guys know there was a Robert Zemeckis Tom Hanks movie that just came out? I had no idea. And it made only $5 million, and it had a budget of $50 million. My oh my, have both of these people fallen. I mean, way back in the day, I'm pretty sure Tom Hanks was like the #1 guy in Hollywood. Like, everyone wanted to work with him. His movies were automatic hits. And him working with Robert Zemeckis was usually like the dream team. Like, they made a lot of hits together. I mean, they made freaking Forrest Gump. So I'm confused about how suddenly in 2024, the American people, or just really the world, decided they don't care about these people anymore. What did Tom Hanks do besides, you know, conspiracy theories that would make people not want to see his movies anymore? Or I guess Robert Zemeckis has made a lot of crap, so maybe that's what soured people on him. But I'm shocked that this dream team dynamic duo, who usually come together and make magic, could not convince people to go see this movie in theaters. And apparently it's not even that good. It's only made a B minus. A B minus! That's pretty bad. That's like, I mean, for people to even show up to this movie, you probably have to be a pretty big Tom Hanks fan. And so if you're a Tom Hanks fan and you still give that movie a B minus, that movie must not be pretty good. So, I don't know. I just found this to be quite shocking. The audience is 35 to 70-year-olds, says Alice in Wonderland. That could be true. That could be true. Vincent says, why Hollywood doesn't want to market original movies anymore? Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm just not the target audience for this movie, and that's why I didn't see any marketing. But I have a feeling that whatever marketing there was for this movie was very small. I mean, he's a really big name, like Tom Hanks. Like, what happened? Okay, Angel Barrera thinks Toy Story 4 did it. You guys know I did not like Toy Story 4, but I don't know if that's what tanked his career. It could be Pinocchio. Oh, was it Pinocchio? You know what? I think it was Pinocchio. Because everyone was clowning him for his acting in Pinocchio. And I hope, if you guys don't know, if you're new here, I made a whole video reviewing Tom Hanks' Pinocchio and how bad I thought that movie was. It's still on my channel if you guys want to watch it. But yeah, I honestly think you might be right. I think Pinocchio was the start of his downfall because he was really bad in that movie. Oh man, he should have never done that movie. But anyway, you think we're getting a Polar Express 2? I would still be here for a Polar Express 2. I love Polar Express. It's one of my favorite Christmas movies. But we'll see. We'll see. Well, this Thanksgiving season is looking to be a very popular movie-going time because there's a lot of big movies coming out. We've got Gladiator, we've got Wicked, and we've got Moana. In fact, I think Thanksgiving and November in general looks a lot better for movies than December does. And I think the reason why December is so empty is because I'm pretty sure Avatar 3 was originally supposed to come out this December, but they moved. So I think that's why there's no, like, huge movie coming out next month. I mean, I know we have Sonic, but that's not going to be a $1 billion movie. And there's usually, like, a huge franchise $1 billion movie that comes out in December. And we're not really getting that this time. I mean, there's also the animated Lord of the Rings movie, but I don't see that being a huge hit either. So December looks pretty empty to me, but November looks very good, but also very crowded. So, Gladiator 2 is tracking to open with $65 million domestically, while Wicked is on track for an $80 million opening. I love the fact that Wicked is tracking to be bigger than Gladiator 2. I mean, I don't want to say I told you so, but I literally told y'all so. I've been saying for like a year that I think Wicked could be a massive hit. And a massive surprise hit. And everything from the box office tracking, and that's low for the box office tracking though. I think they're lowballing that. There's some pundits who think that this movie could open as high as like 120 million. But as someone who is a theater person, I know how popular this musical is. I couldn't see a world where a Wicked movie would flop. So I'm glad that I was right, and also I'm really glad that people are still excited for this musical, because I know the hype for it has maybe died a little bit, because it's a pretty old musical at this point. But I think the Wicked fans are showing up for it. I think Wicked fans are really going to propel this movie to, like, shocking heights, especially because the reviews for the movie have actually come out, and they are glowing. I mean, people are calling it a masterpiece. They're saying it'll blow you away. I haven't seen a single negative review from anyone who has actually seen this movie so far. It's getting amazing, like, Oscar buzz-worthy reviews. So if it's truly that good, and obviously Wicked fans are already very excited for it, I can see this being something that audiences want to go see again and again, which will only make the box office go higher. And then if it gets a bunch of awards, that could help it. I'm not saying this will be a $1 billion film, but I do think this could be a surprisingly big hit compared to what people were expecting this movie to do. I have very high expectations for how this film could wind up, like, turning out. Like, I really think this could be a big hit, like one of the biggest hits of the year. But what do you guys think? Are you looking forward to Wicked? How are you feeling about Wicked? Are you seeing that over Gladiator? Are you more excited for Gladiator? Are you surprised that Gladiator has, like, almost no hype? Like, I don't think the first Gladiator, even though it's been memed, I don't think the first Gladiator has actually, like, withstood the test of time for a new generation. Like, I don't think, like, I haven't seen the first Gladiator. I'm going to see it before I see the sequel, because the sequel looks so good. It makes me want to go see the first Gladiator. But I also think that, like, a lot of people around my age and younger have not seen Gladiator. So I'm thinking maybe, like, one of the reasons Gladiator 2 is maybe not, like, popping off as much as they would expect is that I think this might be a franchise that just skews older. I'm not sure, like, if younger audiences have, like, really caught up with Gladiator. That's my prediction anyway, or my explanation. But what do you guys think? Editing Geeks thinks Gladiator 2 is going to flop hard. It could. It really could. Rob, you think Red 1 could be December's big hit? Really? I think that movie looks awful. I'm sorry. Red 1 looks like Red Notice. It looks like the same movie in the same universe, even with, like, the same sets and the same ugly look. Like, I think Red 1 looks so bad. The only way that movie would be a hit is if people just want to see it for the star power. Like, they want to see The Rock, they want to see Chris Evans, but it doesn't look good. Like, it looks like a streaming movie to me. Okay, P is watching both. Nate's watching Wicked over Gladiator. Oh, Vincent, you think Moana 2 might be a flop? Well, I actually disagree, because it's actually doing very well. I still need to get my tickets, because this is making me a little bit nervous. Moana 2 broke the 2024 record for the most day one ticketing pre-sales for an animated feature on Fandango, surpassing Inside Out 2. So, it's looking like Moana's tracking to do very well. I think other than Wicked, Moana 2 is looking like it's going to be the other big movie of the holiday season. I think Wicked and Moana are pretty much just going to, like, have theaters to themselves for the most part for, like, 2 months. That's my prediction anyway. So I actually think Moana 2 is going to do very well. Even though the first Moana didn't do, like, amazing in theaters, I think it's one of those movies that had a second life when it went to digital and people found it on streaming and started watching it at home. I do think Moana is now more popular than it was when the first movie came out. So I can see why it would be doing, like, really, really well. Even though I didn't care for Moana. And you guys know I love Disney movies and I love Disney princess movies, but I strangely find myself not all that excited for this movie just because I didn't care for the first Moana. So I'm like, oh, okay, we're getting more of the movie that I didn't care for. But I understand I'm in the minority because a lot of people really like this movie. So I think it's going to do well. How well do you think Moana 2 will do? Vincent, will Moana 2 make over $1 billion? I think it could. I think with it pacing this well and how popular it is, I can see it making $1 billion, yeah. Josh also agrees. Fake mustache does not want to see it. Okay. Yeah, Moana has a lot of goodwill and kids love that movie. That's why I think it's going to do extremely well. We're still getting the live action Moana, by the way. They just moved it to, like, 2026, I believe. So, remember, like, before they decided to make Moana a theatrical movie, they were actually planning to have 2 Moana movies in the span of a year because they were going to have, well, not the movie, they were going to have the Moana show, and then they were going to have the live action Moana movie come out, like, within the same year. I'm glad they're not doing that anymore. They did move the live action Moana, but I just feel like that's so weird. Like, why was Disney ever going to do that? That's so dumb. Oh, Danny's over Dwayne Johnson movies. he is in everything. I think he's been way past overexposed at this point. But moving on. So another movie with a ridiculous budget that is probably not going to make it back. Brad Pitt and Joseph Krasinski are still shooting F1. The film began production in July 2023. So that's now over a year ago. And the film has a budget of over $300 million. I think this is a disaster in the making because, well, for a variety of reasons. One, I've seen the trailer for this. I've seen it a couple times before other movies that I've seen in theaters. And I think it's a horrible trailer. Something that I like to do when I watch trailers in theaters is I try to do like a bit of eavesdropping on like what people are saying about the trailer around me, just to get like the vibe of the audience, if they're interested in the movie or not, just because I think it's, something I like to do. And both times this trailer dropped, the vibe in my audience was confusion. Because it's a horrible trailer. The trailer is just Brad Pitt in this helmet, by the way. So you would only really know it's Brad Pitt unless you just recognize his eyes, because they don't show the rest of his face in the trailer, and he's your biggest star. And then it's just him riding around this race car race area, and that's it. There's no story. It's just a bunch of flashes of nothing. And when it's over, they show you the title card, and you're like, but what's the movie about? Tells you nothing. Tells you nothing. And I feel like if they want any hope in this movie doing well, they have got to get better marketing, because I thought the trailer was terrible. But also, Brad Pitt is not as well liked as he used to be. I think Hollywood still loves him for whatever reason, God knows what. I think maybe Brad just gets along well with a lot of other people he works with, so maybe that's why Hollywood still just like fawns over him, like he's still at his peak in the 2000s, even though he's long past that. Because I really do think that like everyday average people, actual moviegoers, have soured on Brad Pitt quite a bit, and he hasn't even had a hit in a long time. I mean, I feel like all the news I hear about him now are about how his kids hate him, can't stand him, want to change their name so they're not even associated with him. And I'm just like, why does Hollywood still keep talking up this dude as if there aren't all these allegations around him and he's as popular as he was in the 2000s? Like, that's how Hollywood still treats him, and I don't get it. I feel like Brad Pitt has fallen off like hard, and it's not been a recent thing. Like, I feel like he fell off a while ago. But they're still like willing to give him huge movies where they're just expecting to make all this money, and I don't understand where that's coming from. But what do you guys think? Are you actually looking forward to this movie? Do you think it'll be a hit? Do you think it'll be worth all this money? Because I gotta tell you, if this movie's a flop, and I think it will be, this will be very bad for Joseph Krasinski as well. And I like Joseph Krasinski. I think he's a really good director, so I don't understand. I don't think he's being very like business savvy with this movie. I think he's putting himself in an impossible corner that he can't get out of. So we'll see what happens. Maybe it'll be a surprise hit and it's really good, but I don't have any high hopes. What do you guys think? Why do they keep making sports car movies? I have no idea, because they don't even tend to do very well. Like, I think the most successful car, well, other than Fast and Furious, which I'm not even counting those movies because they haven't had anything to do with race car racing in a long time. I'm not counting that franchise, but like, I'm talking about like Ford v Ferrari, like stuff like that. Like, I'm pretty sure that movie is the most successful version of that kind of film, and it still didn't make like a ton of money. Not worthy of like a $300 million budget. So I don't know why they keep making that. It's why, I didn't understand why Zendaya, her first big lead film, she decided to make it a tennis movie. Like, who watches tennis movies? Like, it was just a bad business decision, in my opinion. Arvin says he wants Angelina Jolie's movie to be better than this. Maybe. She's getting a lot of praise. She might even get an Oscar nom this year, possibly. I mean, she's getting a lot of, critics love her, at least. I don't know. I feel like Hollywood, I get the sense that Hollywood has very much taken the side of Brad Pitt over Angelina Jolie. Maybe there's more about the relationship we don't know. But from everything I know and understand, I don't understand that. Because I'm very much not on his side. I have seen Arcane. I love Arcane. But anyway, I think this is a disaster in the making, and I think this will cement Brad Pitt's career as a go-to lead movie star as in the past. So we'll see. We'll see, though. Now we're going to go to entertainment news. So we did get a new trailer for Squid Game. I feel like Netflix must really have a lot of faith in this franchise still, because they've been marketing it more than they usually market their shows. Like, we've seen several trailers for this at this point and several posters. I think they really still believe in this show, so I still believe in it. We'll see if people actually tune in. I feel like because there isn't really any big movie that's coming out next month, I know some of you disagree, but I don't consider any of the movies coming out in December to be like a huge box office, like billion-dollar potential hit. Oh yeah, there's also Mufasa. I forgot about Mufasa. But you guys know how I feel about Mufasa. If Mufasa's a hit, I'll be supremely disappointed in humanity. You know what I mean? Like, more than anything that could possibly happen this week, I would be more disappointed if Mufasa was a hit. That's how much I want Mufasa to fail. I just hate the whole concept of that movie. It really bothers me. Yeah, that's how much I want Mufasa to fail. I really don't think it's going to be a hit. If Mufasa is a hit, it's because overseas saves them, kind of like how they're saving Venom. But I really don't get the sense that there's any hyper interest from, like, domestic audiences. I really feel like they might reject that movie, but we'll see. Are you guys still looking forward to Squid Game? This trailer is very, I guess it's more tense. It's more like the main dude seems more serious now. Like, he's like been through some stuff, so he's not as jokey and smiley anymore. It could be interesting. I think this could still be big. I think because there's no really big movie in December, I think maybe Squid Game could take all the attention, potentially. I think there's at least room for that to happen, so we'll see. Okay, Fake Mustache is excited for that. Nate also wants Mufasa to flop. Denisha says there is literally no promotion for Mufasa. Yeah, I've noticed that too. Do you think Disney senses that maybe this is a flop incoming, so they're trying to save on marketing? Or do you think that they're so bullish on this film that they don't have to market as much? Because if you guys remember, the last live-action Lion King movie made somehow $1.6 billion. So maybe they're like, oh, we don't need to market it that much, but I don't know. I don't even understand how that movie made as much. The only reason that movie made $1.6 billion is the strength of the original cartoon, not because the movie itself is worth that much money. I will stand by that. Interesting. Okay. Editing Geek wants to know why I'm against Mufasa. I'm against Mufasa because I do not think we should be normalizing live-action remakes of animated movies when it itself is still animated. It's just a live-action animals, which are really just CGI animals that are really uncanny, can't even emote because they're trying to be too natural and realistic. It just takes all of the magic, whimsy, fun, and charm out of the original animated film for the sake of money and cynicism. Honestly, I feel like the live-action Lion King movie is just cynical from the conception up. And that's why I'm just really against it. As a creative person, I don't like it. I understand why it made sense to make from a business perspective, but from like a creative perspective, that movie hurts my soul. Anyway, moving on. I just had to say. Now, like I just said, Netflix must really see a lot of potential in this franchise because they're planning on making an English language series. which I don't understand the point of, because you can also just like watch Squid Game dubbed. So you kind of can watch it in English if you want to. I feel like making an English language version, they're only doing that because Netflix doesn't get to completely control the Korean version, because they're technically working with like a different studio. Maybe that's what it is. And like Korea has their own laws, so they don't have like total control over it, maybe like they would want. So maybe that's why they're trying to make an English language version, because otherwise this doesn't really make a lot of sense. If you want to watch Squid Game in English, just dub it. Like, there you go. There's the English language version. Or do they mean they just want like the white version? You know what I mean? Do they mean like they just don't want it with a bunch of Koreans? Like, is that I don't understand the point of this. And I like David Fincher. I think David Fincher is a great director. Gone Girl is one of my favorite movies of all time. But do I think this is worth his time? No. And I love Squid Game. I just don't think we need another Squid Game. Especially if the only difference is that it's now in English and maybe doesn't take place in Korea. Like, I feel like this is just, I don't know. I'm not here for this. Would you guys want to see an English language version of this? Yeah, we already have the Squid Game reality show, too. They're really banking hard on this. Yeah, the dub wasn't great. I will admit, I watched the first season of Squid Game in the dubbed version. It wasn't my choice, but I watched it that way. And it wasn't that great, but I still was able to watch it. But anyway, moving on. So, great news. It looks like Takashi Yamazaki is reportedly set to direct a new Japanese Godzilla movie. That makes me so happy. You guys know Godzilla -1 was my favorite movie of last year. In fact, now that I've had time to sit with it, and we've been like a few years into the 2020s now, I think I can confidently say I think it might be my favorite movie of the 2020s so far. That's how much I loved Godzilla -1. In fact, I really want to watch it again. I love this movie. I think this movie, how I felt at the end of this movie, walking out of the theater, reminded me of how like I used to feel when I was a kid watching movies that I really loved, and I felt like not changed by, but like I could tell like the movie really impacted me. I haven't felt that way about a movie in a long time. And then honestly for a minute I thought maybe like I wouldn't feel that way again, like maybe that was just like something you feel as a child. But then I felt that when I watched this movie. That's how much it really impacted me. So I'm really happy about this. I couldn't be more ecstatic. Yeah, I think if you have not seen Godzilla -1, go see it, please. Yes, Josh says it's a follow-up to Godzilla -1. Yes. So I'm really happy about that. I did want to know what happened to those characters at the end of the story, so now we're going to get to find out, so I'm really happy about that. Just a really good movie all around. Yeah, Ajamin, I think that the next movie will probably get a bigger release just because now they know it has a fan base. So I do think it'll get a bigger release this time, hopefully. Anyway, moving on. Patty Jenkins is set to direct a live-action Lego film. Oh yeah, this story is so okay. Patty Jenkins is set to direct a live-action Lego film for Universal Pictures. What's going on with Hollywood? Can we just talk? Can we have an honest discussion? What's going on? Why are we making a live-action Lego movie? Like, I understand making the Lego movies. In fact, the original first Lego movie is like one of my all-time favorite animated movies. Like, I love the Lego movie, the first one. I didn't care for the sequel, but I loved the first one. Why would we need a live-action Lego movie? What do you mean, live-action? I'm getting flashbacks to, like, the live-action Minecraft movie. Because I'm like, this is just so something that should be animated. But it doesn't make sense to do live action. Not everything needs the live action treatment. Minecraft didn't need it, and Legos don't need it either. I think this is a really bad idea. Really, like, just a soulless idea. Like, where is the creativity? Where is the passion? You can't tell me Patty Jenkins is a Lego aficionado and grew up playing Legos. Like, maybe she did a little bit, but, like, you can't tell me that she was like, oh yeah, I want to be a director so I can make a live-action Lego movie. Like, you can't tell me this is what she dreamed of doing as a child, you know? I don't know. I think this is a horrible idea. And I did like Patty. I loved the first Wonder Woman. Ironically, the first Wonder Woman is like one of my all-time favorite superhero movies. But the second Wonder Woman is one of my all-time least favorite superhero movies. Loved the first Wonder Woman. The second Wonder Woman was one of the few films ever that I wanted to like stop watching before it even finished. Like, if I had to watch, thankfully it came out at home because, you know, it was during the pandemic, but if I had to go to a theater to watch 1984, I probably would have walked out of the theater. Like, that's how much I hated Wonder Woman 2. I thought there was like no redeeming quality in that movie. I thought it was that bad. So I think Patty is very hit and miss. I think she can make some good movies, but she could also make some terrible ones. So who knows if this movie will be good or not. I just think the concept of it is dumb. Is anyone interested in a live-action Lego movie? Arvin says maybe it's a bunch of humans playing Legos. Oh, I hope not. This is why I said it's reminding me of Minecraft, because now I'm imagining like a hyper-real Lego world with like humans in it. Like, I feel like that's the direction they're going with this, and I don't know how to feel about that. Yes, the OG Wonder Woman is incredible. I will stand by that film. I thought it should have been nominated for an Oscar. I thought it was that good. Joe Pedro says, do people from Hollywood think live action is a new concept? I think it's a very lazy idea of trying to get new content. They're like, oh, well, we've already done this thing. How do we make it new? Oh, that's right. Let's make it live action. Like, it's very lazy. That's why I don't like it. It's just very lazy. And also, it kind of insinuates that live action's better than animation. Like, oh, it's getting the live action treatment. Like, that kind of, like, speaks ill of animation in the same breath, you know? But anyway, moving on. I just thought this was really funny, but also really dumb. So, oh, this is good news, by the way. Greta Gerwig's Narnia film is eyeing a November 2026 theatrical release. I am so happy about that. One of the things I was really bummed to hear about was the fact that Greta Gerwig's next big movie after Barbie was going to be a Netflix film. Not even just one Netflix film, but an entire Netflix trilogy. So after this huge success of Barbie, I was so disappointed that Greta Gerwig was just going to be tied to like being like a streaming director for several years. And I was so disappointed because I feel like that's such like a step back in her career. But it seems like maybe she's been able to pitch enough of a fit, because there's been a lot of like reports that she's not happy about it being a streaming movie, even though she signed up with Netflix. So now it seems like it might actually get a theatrical release, which I think is amazing and makes me even more excited for these movies. And I really do like the Narnia films, or at least I like the first Narnia from like the 2000s. It was like one of my childhood favorite movies. So I'm really looking forward to this. I think that Greta Gerwig is the right director for this kind of property. I have a lot of faith in her and being able to adapt this. My whole thing was just that I was really bummed that it was just going to be a Netflix movie. But now it might actually be a theatrical release. So I really hope it's a wide release, like not just like we'll play for one weekend in LA and New York. Like, I really hope that this is like a huge wide release for like multiple weeks. But fingers crossed. Angel Barrera, I'm glad it's live. It gives Lego actors some work. Lego actors? Where are you finding these Lego actors, huh? I love your dad jokes, Angel Barrera. Never stop. You're going to Paris, Oscar. I want to go to Paris. Rom says, have Narnia adaptations never been able to complete its series? Yeah, they never completed the series before with the original cast, so I'm wondering if maybe this time they'll actually get to do that, hopefully. Seems like a lot of you guys are excited. Oh, Natanya, tomorrow's your birthday! Happy almost birthday! Well, I'm just gonna say happy birthday now. Thank you for being just a valuable member of the community. You never miss a show. You're always here. I always see you're usually like one of the first people to comment, so I see you, and you're a great moderator. So thank you so much to Tanya, and happy birthday. Yes, I just hope it's a really wide release. That's my main thing with this Narnia movie. Moving on. So, speaking of a movie that will likely get a very large release, it seems like this Michael Jackson movie that Lionsgate and Universal are making, they have a lot of lofty expectations for. So they're expecting this movie to be a multi-billion-dollar film. Meaning they expect this movie to make minimum $2 billion. Minimum $2 billion. That's crazy, but hold on. According to a press release, the film will have a huge marketing campaign with unprecedented promotion. Unprecedented. Now, in recent times, we've seen some movies have huge marketing campaigns. Currently, we're in the middle of Wicked's like extravaganza. I feel like I see Wicked everywhere I go around this city, and there's like tons of like Wicked commercials and stuff like that. Barbie, how can we forget the marketing for Barbie? Barbie was insane. I even made a whole video talking about like the marketing for Barbie and how crazy they were promoting that movie. So are they trying to say that for this Michael Jackson movie they're going to promote it even harder than Barbie and Wicked? Because that's the bar. For me, that's the bar. If you want to say unprecedented, you're saying that we're going harder than Barbie. And I didn't know it was possible to go harder than Barbie, but Wicked is definitely trying. So that's going to be interesting. I'm really curious to see how well this movie does. Can it make multi-billions of dollars? I love how, like, confident they are. They don't even just... I guess to them, they already think 1 billion is a foregone conclusion. Because they're, like, aiming for multi-billions here. That's crazy. I've never seen, for any movie, for any studio, I've never seen, like, any studio say that they're just outright expecting a movie to make $2 billion. I don't even think for Avatar 2, Disney was expecting $2 billion. So this is a lot. This is a lot. I know Michael Jackson is huge, though. Obviously, he's an icon. His songs still live on and are very popular. I'm not saying this movie won't do well. I do think it will do well. But I don't know if it's, like, realistic to say, like, we're aiming for $2 billion off the bat, you know? Like, I feel like that's maybe getting a little carried away. Now, what I think is a more, like, fair goal is to try to beat Bohemian Rhapsody. Because there still hasn't been, like, another musical biopic movie that's been able to beat Bohemian Rhapsody. And Bohemian Rhapsody made almost $1 billion. So Queen is still very much relevant, very much widely beloved. And that's why the Queen movie still managed to make almost $1 billion. So I think what Universal and Lionsgate should be trying to reach for is, can we just beat Bohemian Rhapsody? Let's just get to $1 billion, okay? Why are we already setting our expectations at multi-billions? I don't know. Do you guys think that's realistic? I mean, Michael Jackson is a huge figure. Do you think that's realistic? Do you think they can reach the multi-billion-dollar goal? Yes, I mean, Fake Mustache says MJ is known by a lot of people. That's true. That's why I'm saying I still think it's going to be a hit. I still think it could beat the Bohemian Rhapsody biopic. But $2 billion is a lot of money. But some of you are saying yes. Some of you are saying yes. So I'm seeing there's lots of MJ fans in my chat. That's interesting. Alice in Wonderland says MJ is epic and even kids know the impact of MJ. Yeah, I mean, I do think it's going to do well. Fedro says this film could perhaps make around 600 to 700 million in today's economy. I actually think it could do even better than that, Fedro. I really do think it can make around what Bohemian Rhapsody made or more. That's where I see it doing. Um, Nick, Jess, you actually can see 2 billion being the max. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Is there any other celebrity, dead or alive, on the planet who you think actually could reach $2 billion for a biopic? Because I don't even think Taylor Swift could do it. Because her movie didn't get close to $1 billion, and there was still all that hype around it. I don't know. I'm really curious to see how that Britney Spears biopic does. I think Britney Spears is also another biopic that could rival the Bohemian Rhapsody one and the Michael Jackson one. I think the Britney biopic will also be huge. But there hasn't been a lot of musical biopics that have been at that level. Like, we've had an Aretha Franklin one, we've had an Elton John one. There's a, what is it? Not Johnny Cash. It's, Bob Dylan. The Bob Dylan biopic with Timothée Chalamet coming up later this year. Like, we'll see how that one does. But there hasn't been a single biopic that's been able to come close to the Queen one. So I'm trying to think of, like, what stars could actually rival Queen. The only ones I could think of are, like, Michael Jackson, Britney Spears, Taylor Swift. Beyonce, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Beyonce, Rihanna. Oh, yeah, Rihanna. I think Rihanna could do it. Margot says only Michael Jackson and Britney Spears. It's possible only those two. Yeah. Which, by the way, says a lot about Queen and where they rank in music history, that, like, they're this beloved. Maybe Beyonce. Oh, Celine Dion. That's a good one. I don't know about billion, but I do think a Celine Dion biopic would do really well. The Beatles. Well, hasn't there already been, like, a number of movies on the Beatles? I don't think any of them have done, like, that well. You guys know I would love a One Direction biopic. If I could have a biopic about anyone, it would be, of course, One Direction. Maybe one day. Maybe one day. There already has been an Amy Winehouse movie, by the way, Mauricio. And it didn't do well at all. So, no, not Amy Winehouse. She couldn't do it. Alright, let's move on. So, we're also getting a Lara Croft live-action movie. They're considering a bunch of actresses for this role. They're considering Sophie Turner from Game of Thrones, Lucy Boynton, speaking of, from Bohemian Rhapsody. They're the two main people being considered for this. I don't think either of them are good, although if I had to choose between the two of them, I would go with Sophie Turner, just because I like her more. But I don't feel like either of them scream Lara Croft to me. And didn't we just do a Lara Croft movie, like, within the last 10 years with Alicia Vikander? We've already had, like, a live-action Lara Croft movie that didn't do that well, like, not that long ago. So, I don't know. I feel like if they do another live-action Tomb Raider, I feel like they need to take a lesson from the Angelina Jolie version. And I think they need to go a lot sexier with it. I feel like part of why the Alicia Vikander one didn't do that well is because I remember when that movie came out. And I think that was, like, square in the middle of, like, Me Too and that whole movement. And I think they intentionally desexed the character. And they made Lara Croft, like, more appealing for the female gaze rather than, like, the male gaze. And I feel like that's partially why it didn't do that well. Because they kind of put her in, like, a dirty tank top and some cargo pants and called it a day. And it's like, who is that appealing to? Because, like, not even women want to, like, watch that, you know? Like, women still want to watch other women who, like, I don't know, like, they want to, like, be like, at least. But I don't know. I feel like both of these actresses kind of have that similar problem where I don't think that they could bring that, like, sexy factor. Not trying to say they're not hot or anything, but, like, they're not like Angelina Jolie. Like, I feel like Sydney Sweeney has more of that kind of factor that I feel like would do better for a movie like this. But what do you guys feel? How do you guys... Oh, wait, Camila Cabello? Oh, you want a biopic for her? No. No. I don't think that would do well. I don't think that would do well at all. Rob says, the last one didn't do well because it's following the reboot version that classic fans don't like. Well, maybe if they focus on more what fans actually want, who knows? But this is, you know... A lot of the times the people making these movies don't actually care about the video games at all or haven't even played them, so we'll see. Ethan says, movies aren't doing well because nothing is original and rent is too high to spend money on overpriced theater, in my opinion. Well, I do think that's one reason. I definitely think that is one reason. But anyway, moving on. So we're getting a Game of Thrones movie! I'm actually very excited about this. I'm actually genuinely, like, really excited about this. You guys know I'm a big Game of Thrones fan. Watched all of House of the Dragon too. There's no director or writer currently attached, and we don't even know, like, where in the Game of Thrones story this takes place. Although, personally, I would really hope that it's a continuation of the original Game of Thrones cast, and then maybe we get, like, a season 9 as a movie that maybe fixes some of the mistakes from season 8. I feel like if they did that, I genuinely think that could be, like, if it was good, like, $1 billion movie. Because Game of Thrones was huge. At its height, at its pinnacle, like, it was massive. Like, it seemed like everyone was watching that show. And then they kind of ruined it with season 8. But what if they made a season 9 and brought back some of the same actors and said, this is basically season 9, we're going to fix what you didn't like about season 8. Like, what if they did that? I think that movie would be an instant hit. I think it would be huge. Although I'm seeing some people in my chat who are saying you don't want that. Why? Are you guys just over Game of Thrones entirely? Like, you don't even want a movie now? Because I'm also thinking, like, this could be, like, a really big, epic fantasy movie and just, like, take Game of Thrones out of it. I think that's cool, because we don't really get a lot of big, epic fantasy movies. So, I'm really excited about this. I think this is a good idea. But seeing a lot of you do not agree with me. Yeah, Cheetah Viper, I will say House of the Dragon Season 2 was not my favorite. I was actually very disappointed by it. But I still have a lot of faith in the franchise. I mean, I felt like they knocked it out of the park with Season 1. So there's still potential in that the show could be good or this movie could be good. I just hope that they have, like, the right writers. Honestly, I think what happened with Season 2 is that there was a writer, I don't remember his name, I should have looked up his name, but there was a writer that was, like, one of the main writers for Game of Thrones that came back for Season 1 of House of the Dragon, but left for Season 2. And I'm thinking it might have been that guy that was actually, like, the key to this whole franchise working. Because as soon as he was gone, the show went to crap. So I'm thinking they need to get, like, that guy and, like, just give him a ton of money to write this movie. Because I feel like he was the key. Oh yeah, the budget's going to be high. Budget's going to be crazy high, Valerie. I'm glad that you agree that it could be a good movie, though. Evil Connor, I think you would actually like it. I feel like I kind of know your taste. I feel like you would actually like the original Game of Thrones. But anyway, I think this could be good. So, we're also getting a new Jumanji movie, which I don't know why it's taking so long to get the third Jumanji movie, but I'm really happy about it. I love this franchise. I love this series. I think the first one is really, really good. I didn't like the second one as much as the first one, but I still liked it. Overall, I'm really locked into this franchise. I love these characters. I want to see them come back. Yeah, I'm glad that we're still getting them. I was a little nervous that they were going to end after the second one because I don't think it was as universally as well liked as the first one. So I thought maybe they were just going to end there, but I'm glad that they're bringing them back. I'm hoping this movie still does well. I think this movie does, or this franchise does have a fan base. So, I don't know. I have my fingers crossed for this movie. I think it could still do well. I'm just glad that we're getting it anyway. Anyone else interested in the Jumanji movies? Cinnamon Roll is very excited. That's good. If Nebula's in it, you'll watch it. Yeah, they have to have Karen Gillan back. Like, I feel like she's a huge part of these movies. I know it has been so long. I don't know why they're waiting so long between these movies, but at least we're getting them. Fake mustache, you're not interested? Really? Aw. The Rock is overexposed, Rob, but I will take... This is the one exception. I love the Jumanji movie so much. This is the one exception. I'll take The Rock in this, but nothing else for like 5 years. That's how I feel about this movie. Alright, moving on though. So, Rachel Zegler confirmed she won't return for the next Hunger Games movie. Now, I'm very curious to see what they're doing with the Hunger Games franchise in general. Suzanne Collins did say that she's releasing a new Hunger Games book coming out soon. I believe it's about the origin story of, like, Haymitch's time in the Hunger Games. And I'm pretty sure Lionsgate is going to jump at the chance of turning that into a live-action movie. So maybe that's what's next for the franchise. But it is interesting that she's not being asked to come back and that there isn't more for her. I'm wondering if maybe Lionsgate wasn't happy with the performance of that movie, because it didn't do nearly as well as the original films. Like, not even close. And it wasn't as universally well liked either. Which, even though I really liked the movie, I liked the movie a lot, but I could acknowledge that not everyone did. So I'm not surprised by this. I also think that Rachel Zegler herself has become a bit of a controversial person, so maybe that has played a hand in it too. But yeah, I'm not that surprised by this, but I am curious to see like what they plan to do with this franchise, or if maybe they're just done. I'm not really sure. Oh, sorry, no. I do know. What am I talking about? They are doing The Sunrise on the Reaping. Never mind. So that is the next Hunger Games movie, but she's just not in it. Again, I'm not surprised by that, for all the reasons I just said. But yeah, would you guys have wanted to see Rachel come back in Hunger Games? Would you have wanted to see those characters continue on and see their story continue, or are you glad that that's over? What do you think? Well, the live-action Snow White movie should have already been done. I don't think she's still working on that one. Seems like you guys are not looking, not sad that she's leaving. I know a lot of you guys are not fans of her. Valerie says, I think the new Hunger Games book has to really appeal to the new generation. Yeah, I think that's why the last Hunger Games movie didn't do as well. Like, I feel like I was in high school when the original, like, Hunger Games movies came out, and, like, everyone was super into it. Like, Hunger Games was, like, as big as Twilight at a certain point. Like, it was just huge. I don't think that younger audiences, like, I don't think that, like, Gen Z and, like, I don't think that they're as interested in Hunger Games. I think that's maybe why it didn't do as well. I was just kind of hoping that they would continue her story in some way, because I did like her character, and I did like that movie, but yeah, I don't think they're going to do anything more with it, which is unfortunate for me, because I actually liked it. The Haymitch era does have potential, Alice. I do agree with that. I do agree. Anyway, let's move on. So, speaking of stuff we're not getting more of, we're also not getting more Fantastic Beasts, which I am A-okay with. I am totally fine with that. You guys know I love Harry Potter. Big Harry Potter fan. I have a Harry Potter tattoo. So, love Harry Potter, right? Did not like the Fantastic Beasts franchise. At all. Hated the Fantastic Beasts franchise. I thought the first movie had, like, some potential in it. Like, some potential. But then the second movie was so garbage. Was so bad. Fantastic Beasts 2 was just so bad. I decided that I wouldn't see Fantastic Beasts 3. Just because I felt like these movies were ruining the image of Harry Potter for me. Like, I felt like it was actually ruining the larger Wizarding World franchise for me. That's how much I I hated Fantastic Beasts 2, and I still to this day have not seen Fantastic Beasts 3. I refuse to see it because I don't want these movies to ruin Harry Potter for me. But they're that bad. They're really that bad. Why in Fantastic Beasts 2 was there an entire scene of a bunch of people just standing around in a circle talking about, oh, well, this happened to me, and it was just like one flashback after the other, and like somehow we were on the Titanic, and then like Johnny Depp turned into Colin Farrell. What was going on in that movie, man? Rulu Nuru says Fantastic Beasts should have ended on the first movie. Yeah, I agree. I thought the first movie was okay. It was okay, but the second one was just so bad. It was really bad. Yes, you agree. It was a disaster. I would use the word disaster for the second one. Yeah, and they're very forgettable, Danny. You said you saw 3 and you can't tell you a thing about them. Yeah, I honestly feel like they just kind of like go through one ear and out the other. Like, they're very forgettable movies, too. Seems like not many of you guys are upset about this. Did anyone like these Fantastic movies? Okay, Josh says the movies actually got worse. Are you saying the third one was worse than the second? I can't imagine that. Was it really that bad? Because the second one was terrible. But anyway, I'm glad that they're stopping with these movies. However, the reason they're stopping with these movies is because they're doing the TV show instead. If you guys remember, they're doing a remake of all the Harry Potter books as a TV show for Max. Or is it for HBO? I think it's for HBO, but it's going to be on Max. Or is it a Max? I can't remember. Is it a Max show or is it a HBO show? Let me know in the chat. But it's going to be a Max regardless. But anyway, they're doing the Harry Potter show, and then for each book, it's going to be its own season. So, I mean, you win some, you lose some. I have a lot of faith and hope in the TV show. I actually really think that if they stick to the book and they get into the details of the book, there could be something there, because there's a whole lot that the movies left out. So there could be a lot still new to share. But I am nervous about the TV show, because the entire Wizarding World universe has been built around the aesthetic that the movies created. Like, for example, when you go to Harry Potter World, you see the Hogwarts and the Diagon Alley and the Hogsmeade that you see from the movies. Like, they are exact replications of those locations from the movie. But if you have a TV show and now you have a different looking Hogwarts, and you have a different looking Diagon Alley and Hogsmeade and all of that, what are you going to do with the theme parks? Like, they're opening a new Harry Potter World next year with a Ministry of Magic that is, again, based on the aesthetics that were established in the movies. But if we get a new TV show with a new, different looking Ministry of Magic, what are you going to do with the theme parks? Or all the countless merchandise that comes with Harry Potter? All of that based on the movies. Are we going to have to change everything? Like, that's what I'm concerned about. Like, I don't understand how, like, branding-wise that's going to work out. Like, if they make are they just going to have Hogwarts look exactly the same but with a new cast? I don't get it. I don't know. I'm very confused. SNF says, what if the TV show was made by the Harry Potter Puppet Pals? Oh, you just brought back a memory. I forgot. I know exactly what you're talking about. So it's like, Harry Potter, Harry Potter, Harry Potter, Harry Potter. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Evil Connor says, maybe they'll just film the show at the theme parks. I mean, the theme parks are so detailed. They honestly could film there. What Hogwarts house am I? I'm a Ravenclaw, but I can kind of go back and forth between Ravenclaw and Slytherin. But I consider myself a Ravenclaw. And I played the Harry Potter game, and I was a Ravenclaw. Morbid and Sarcastic says, it shouldn't be too bad because the layout of the book Hogwarts is different from the movie Hogwarts and the Hogwarts Legacy game. So there's basically three different versions of Hogwarts already. That's a good point. I mean, in the Hogwarts Legacy game, it kind of is the same Hogwarts, but you're right, the layout is slightly different. So that they might do that with the TV show, like, Hogwarts still largely looks the same, but, like, it's slightly different. Like, how the game did it. Maybe that's how they'll do it. Maybe. But I feel like, I don't know, I feel like if I were someone, like a director, who was tasked to work on this movie, or this TV show, I would feel like it was very limiting that I could only adhere to, like, this very well-established, like, aesthetic that already predates my show. Like, you wouldn't be able to change much, because there's already, like, so much, like, merchandise and theme parks that are all based on the movies. Like, you just can't change a whole lot. So I don't know. I just think it's very weird. Martin Schmidt, thank you so much for the super chat. Andy Greenwald, writer for the show, hasn't read all the books. Well, then that just took all my excitement out of the TV show. I thought the whole point of doing a TV show was that it could be more like the books. If you're not even going to pay attention to the books, then there's literally no point in doing the TV show. This is why Hollywood is failing, by the way. This right here is why Hollywood is failing. Why in the world would you hire a writer to work on one of the most popular and well-known franchises in the world who has no interest in said franchise and hasn't even read the books? I'm sorry, but that Andy guy, if that's true, is the least qualified person for this job. Why would you hire someone who hasn't even read the books to write this show? What sense does that make? And why does this keep happening with multiple franchises? Dumb decisions like that is why Hollywood is failing, by the way. That's crazy. Anyway. Moving on, because that just pissed me off. That can't be true. Andy better be studying. He better be reading all those books right now, because if he's not, I want him fired. I'm not even kidding. You shouldn't be writing this show if you haven't read the books. Like, that's got to be a prerequisite. But anyway, we'll see. We'll see. We're also apparently maybe sort of getting a new Pirates of the Caribbean movie. I mean, there's been a new Pirates of the Caribbean movie that's been rumored for quite some time. There's been a lot of people attached to it, but like no one's been actually confirmed. Like Margot Robbie's been attached to this. Karen Gillan's been attached to this. Aoa Debris has also been attached to this. Like, they've considered a lot of different actresses for this role, and none of them have had Johnny Depp in them, so I don't think Johnny Depp wants to come back to this franchise, and I don't think Disney wants Johnny Depp to come back to this franchise. I think that's a mutual decision. But Johnny not being in this movie does bring some, like, complications to the film, like PR complications, because obviously the big elephant in the room the entire time the cast will be promoting this movie is, where's Johnny? Why isn't Johnny in the movie? How does it feel like being in this movie without Captain Jack? Like, he's just going to be the elephant in the room that, like, everyone's going to be thinking about even when they're watching the movie, because so much of this series is about Captain Jack and Johnny Depp's role in it. So, I don't know. I honestly, as much as I like the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, or at least the first three, I do think the movies got awful after the first three. Even the third one's not that great. But the first two, I think, are really good movies. But I honestly don't know if it's even worth doing more Pirates of the Caribbean, because the Johnny Depp situation is just going to tank the film. I really do. I think it's going to be too much of a glaring omission for people to just ignore. And I do think not having Captain Jack in these movies kind of changes what these movies are, because so much around what the original series was about was based on him and his character. So, I don't know. I don't know if I would continue with this franchise. I understand they have a theme, they have the rides in the theme park, and they want to keep the ride relevant. But the ride did predate the movie by quite so many years. So I think the rides can still be popular on their own without having, you know, some franchise to keep it relevant. I don't think the Pirates ride is something that needs that. But what do you guys think about a potential Pirates of the Caribbean movie? Would you guys want to see this? Are you upset that Johnny wouldn't be asked back, or do you think that wouldn't be a problem for this film? What do you think? Rulunduru says they need a fresh start. They do need a fresh start, but that first movie will have to be really good. Like, I feel like whoever's directing it and writing it will be as important as who's starring in it, because the movie is just going to have to be really, really good to reinvigorate the franchise. Yeah, I'm kind of with Cinnamon Roll. I just don't think they need another movie. I feel like the last few Pirates movies were really bad. Like, really, really bad. So, I just think these movies are done. Yeah, Metronoma thinks this is a bad idea. That Super says there's no point. Fake Mustache says it could be a flop. Josh says you're only interested if Ayo Edebree's in it. I do like her. I just feel like, honestly, another thing that worries me about this is whoever steps into this movie in the lead role is going to get accused of replacing Johnny Depp. And if it's a woman, they're going to get, like, extreme vitriolic toxicity. And I just wouldn't want that for any actress. So, like, I don't know. I wouldn't want that for Ayo. Maybe Awkwafina. Anyway, let's move on. That was a little mean to Awkwafina, sorry. Agatha All Along. Yes, Agatha All Along just ended. Just had its final 2 episodes last week. And I really like this show. I really like this show a lot. I think it's now one of my favorite Marvel Disney Plus shows. But also I think one of my favorite Disney Plus shows in general. Because if I'm being honest with you, I actually think the Marvel shows are better than the Star Wars shows. I think most of the Star Wars shows aren't good at all. So, I think Agatha is actually, like, I would put this up there with WandaVision and, like, Loki and some of the better Marvel shows. Like, I genuinely think it's that good. I thought the ending was very emotional. I love how layered the overall story ended up being. Like, I feel like this is one of those shows where rewatching it would be really rewarding because you would notice new things you didn't notice on the first time just because of the time element and how they weaved so many things in and out. I feel like the acting was also really good, but the writing, I'm mostly impressed with the writing. Like, you can tell this show was clearly thought out from the beginning because it had to. There's so many layers here, so many, like, weaving storylines and timelines that, like, this had to be something that was, like, well planned out in advance in order for it to work. And I'm really appreciative that they actually did plan this out. And I feel like if more Marvel properties did this, if more Marvel movies did this and TV shows did this, then I think Marvel would be a lot better at being, like, consistently good than they have been. Because I think one of the benefits of this show is just how tight the writing is and how clearly it was well thought out. And I really appreciate that about the show. Also, for this being one of the cheaper shows for Marvel to make, I thought the visual effects and a lot of the sets looked amazing. Like, I particularly the last episode when we see, like, the flashback of Agatha in the olden days and, like, they were in this, like, town and she was killing all those witches. Like, I love the mise-en-scène. I loved the costumes, the set. I love how real and tactile it was. It wasn't just like they were in the volume the whole time. Like, I was actually very impressed with this show. I was really impressed. And I want to see what happens with these characters. I want to know what happens with Agatha and Wicked going forward. I want to know when is the next time we're even going to see these characters. I know we have the Vision Quest show. And then I think they've been teasing that they might do Children's Crusade for Wanda. So maybe those will be the next times we see these characters. I just hope it's not a long time. I really hope we don't have to wait like another 4 years to see what happens to these characters. Because I don't want that. But yeah, I'm just generally... I was really pleased with this show. Like, surprisingly, it was very, very good. Ajamin, the show only cost $40 million. Is that what you're saying? If that's that's true, then how the heck did the oh my god, what is it? The Ant-Man movie. How did the Ant-Man movie cost almost $400 million if this cost just 40? And this show, I think, looks 10 times better than the Ant-Man movie. How did that happen? How? Oh, Josh says Jennifer Kill is setting up Midnight Suns. Are we getting that soon? Is that coming out soon? I hope so. Unknown Adventurer says, I can see where you're coming from on replacing Jack and how people would initially react. I think it's an opportunity to bring a new protagonist and freshen up a franchise a little. I'd be down. Yeah, I just think that the whole like Johnny Depp situation will be an albatross around that movie's neck. And we'll see how they navigate it if they actually end up making the movie. Because like I said, they've been rumored to be making this movie for a while. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. SNF says they're using their budget wisely. Yes, clearly they used their budget extremely wisely for this show, because I would have thought it cost a lot more than that. Whereas I would have thought like the Ant-Man movie cost a lot less than $388, because where the heck did that money go? The visual effects in that movie were terrible. Even there was like a whole expose after that movie came out of like visual effects artists talking about their horrible treatment that they received while making that Ant-Man movie, and how like they knew they were leaving certain shots unfinished because that's just, they had no time. Like, that movie cost too much money for them to be doing stuff like that. That's just crazy to me. Yeah, the views, I'm really curious to see how many views the finale gets, because I do think that after a certain point, the views started to go up. So I'm curious to see how big the audience is by the end. I'm really curious. Because I think this is like one of the few Disney Plus shows that people like really, really liked up until the very end. Because how many Disney Plus shows do you watch where like it starts off okay but then ends terrible? Or like people just fall off and don't even finish? So this one, people actually did watch until the end. So I feel like hopefully it's rewarded for that in the ratings. But we'll see. Now, something I am disappointed about Agatha for is that Madison was supposed to be in it. Do you guys remember Madison from She-Hulk? The girl that tried to spell her name when she was like in court or whatever. I really liked her. I really liked her a lot, and I've been wondering when we're gonna see her again. I feel like this kind of show would have been perfect, like straight up her alley. But you know what? I feel like we will see her again. I feel like Marvel knows that fans like her. I feel like since she didn't show up in this show, I feel like the next most likely show she'll be in is Wonder Man. Because Wonder Man also takes place in LA, which I'm pretty sure that's where Madison lives, right? I'm pretty sure she's an LA girl, or is she a New Yorker? I can't remember. But I feel like I can see Madison show up in Wonder Man, because I feel like that might be more her vibe. But I also feel like this was a missed opportunity, because I feel like the audience who watches Agatha is the same audience who really liked Madison. So I feel like that there was just a missed opportunity here. But hopefully we'll see her again soon. Do you guys care about Madison? Would you want to see her back, or are you just like, you don't even remember this character? Alice, you think she'll get a comeback? Astronomy says, why would she be there? Because, why not? Would they kill her instead of Mrs. Hart? I don't know. I don't want her to die. Anyway, I don't know if you guys even remember Madison, but I really liked her. Moving on. We also got a new trailer. Speaking of Star Wars, we got a new trailer for another Star Wars Disney Plus show called The Skeleton Crew. This is the one that I was telling you about that's like Stranger Things in space, and like it's basically like a space suburb that it takes place in. And watching this trailer, they don't even really try to hide the fact that this is just Stranger Things in space. Like, it's very like 80s coded, and it doesn't make any sense to be, other than they're just trying to like play off that Stranger Things vibe. Like, I don't know. It could be cute. Like, honestly, maybe it's surprisingly really good. I don't even think it looks bad. I just think it doesn't look like Star Wars. I think it looks like a different kind of space show, and it's just using Star Wars on the name. Like, it doesn't look Star Wars to me at all. And I do think, especially if you actually watch this trailer, it just reads too much to me like a knockoff of Stranger Things. Like, they purposely wanted it to be like that show. When they were initially trying to market this show, they were saying it was like, oh, it's like Stranger Things. Disney really wants their own Stranger Things. And I guess they think this could be it for them. And I just don't see it. I really don't see it. I mean, it's got Jude Law in it, but like, Jude Law isn't like a guaranteed draw or anything. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about this show. It could be good. I'll give it a try. I'll definitely let you guys know what I think of the first episode. But I'm not sure how many people are actually going to watch it. But what do you guys think? Are you interested in Skeleton Crew at all? Astronomy says it looks fun, which I think is what Star Wars has been missing, but it doesn't look like Star Wars. Yeah, exactly. That's why I left it on this freeze frame here, because this doesn't look like Star Wars at all. This is literally just like a regular suburb, but make it Star Wars. That's what this looks like. Edgemon says they knew Madison was too powerful. Maybe that's why. Maybe that's why. I don't see many people are interested in this show. I don't think the show really has an audience, because I feel like they're aiming this show for kids, but kids don't really care about Star Wars like adults do. And I don't think even the adults are interested in this show. So I think this might be a show without an audience, but we'll see. Yeah, it does look like Star Wars is having an identity crisis. That's a good way of putting it, yeah. Because, yeah, this doesn't look like Star Wars to me at all, actually. But moving on. So, Marvel Studios will be releasing nine, I'm going to say this again, 9 projects in 2025. April, September, and November are the only months where there will be no film or show releasing. Remember when they were saying that they were going to slow down on Marvel content because they realized people were getting like overwhelmed with having to catch up with everything? Well, maybe they're not taking their advice anymore, because what the heck? 9? How many projects were in phase 1 of the MCU total? By the way, are we still in phases? I feel like they're kind of going away from the phase thing, because I think we're technically in phase 5, but like, they don't really mention that, and like, when does phase 5 supposed to end? There's nothing really like connecting anything in phase 5 together anyway, so like, it doesn't really feel like a phase. I think this is a mistake. I think this is too much in one year. But what's releasing? So we have Ironheart, Wonder Man, Eyes of Wakanda, What If Season 3, Daredevil Born Again, The Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, and then we have the movies that are also coming out. So we have the Fantastic Four movie, we have Thunderbolts, anything else? Oh, yeah, and the Captain America movie. So that's all that's coming out next year. That's a lot. That's a lot. Now, I don't think everyone's going to be watching all of these. Like, not a lot of people really watch What If Season 3, or What If in general. But, like, I feel like people would be interested in Daredevil and Spider-Man, and I think Wonder Man actually looks really interesting. So, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like this is too much, but what do you guys think? Are you interested in any of these shows? Do you think 9 is too much? Fake mustache. You think they're all going to flop? All of them? I think some of them. Oh, Shelly Lee. Shelly Lee, oh, thank you so much for the super chat. Oh, you're always so kind and generous. Thank you so much, Shelly Lee. 9, and none of them are called Blade. Right? They're releasing 9 projects next year, and none of them are Blade. That's a great point, Shelly Lee. They announced Blade ages ago. Years ago. And they can't somehow get it done? This is embarrassing for them. How did freaking, like, Wonder Man get precedence over Blade? Like, or Ironheart? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. I don't understand some of the decisions they're making over there, to be honest. Very confusing to me. But great point, Shelley Lee. I know, Josh, you're going to be excited because I know you love Marvel. But yeah, lots of Marvel next year. Ethereal Dragon says, you have no interest in Captain America 4 after Falcon and Winter Soldier. Yeah, I would say I wasn't a huge fan of Falcon and Winter Soldier. It does make me nervous that the same people, the same team that worked on that show for the most part is going to be working on the movie. So that makes me a little nervous about the film. But yeah, I'm hoping it's still good. They got money to burn. I mean, they spent an entire decade like racking up cash. So I'm sure they do have a lot of money to burn. Robert Bell, thank you so much for the super chat. Did you hear they might revive the 90s animated Spider-Man show? I did hear that. Maybe we'll see how well that does. I don't think that the revived X-Men show actually did all that well. So I'm actually surprised they keep going forward with animation, because I don't think like they've had like a single like big animated hit yet. But I guess they're just determined to make animation work. So as an animation fan, I'm happy about that, but I'm surprised that they're still like doubling down on this strategy. Well, Alice, Blade has been indefinitely delayed. It hasn't officially been scrapped, just delayed. Okay, Eyes of Wakanda, I don't know. Isn't that also animated? We'll see how that goes. Not sure if I'm into that. I'm gonna have to see more from the marketing. It could be interesting, but honestly, I'm not really into the animation style that Marvel has chosen for their animated shows. I just think it looks a little weird, but I don't know. Maybe the actual show will be good. Alice says X-Men 97 did very well, but it was with a niche audience. But it didn't do like as well as some of their bigger shows. And like, I feel like Marvel needs to not lower their standards for hits. I kind of feel like they're doing that a bit. Where they're like, people talked about it on social media, so that's a big enough hit. And I'm just like, I feel like you guys actually should care if people watch your show. Because you're a big enough brand that more people should be watching these shows. But anyway, I think this is a potential disaster, or I think we might have a repeat of what happened in 2022 when it just seemed like they were releasing non-stop stuff and like people got overwhelmed and jumped off the Marvel ship. If any number of these shows and movies aren't good, I think that will also just poison the well and make people not like want to go back to Marvel again. So this is a big risk. Hopefully all of this content is good and people actually like it, so people like Marvel again. But if this stuff is bad and it's all coming out in the same year, that could potentially be really bad for Marvel like long term. So I hope they know what they're doing, because this is really risky. Very, very risky. And speaking of Marvel/Disney, this is the last thing I have, so thank you all for sticking with me for this long. I told you it would be a long show. But in a week, there will be D23 Brazil, and there will be Walt Disney Studios, Marvel, 20th Century Fox, Pixar, and more that will be there, and they will bring trailers, teasers, and announcements. So think of it kind of like another like D23 like we had earlier, or another one of those like big Disney conventions where they announce a bunch of stuff. Like this is like hopefully supposedly supposed to be like that, so we should have a lot of Disney news for next week's show. So make sure you're here next Sunday, I think at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but I'll have to double check. Again, check the community page and my Twitter for exact time and detail about the next show, but we will have another show next Sunday. And hopefully we will have a lot of Disney stuff to talk about, because I hope they actually bring like a lot of good trailers and stuff. So yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know that's coming up, so to expect a lot of Disney news on our next show. But anyway, that's it for today. I want to thank you all for being here and coming to the show and just chatting with me about movies. I really appreciate you guys. You're always so engaged. You ask really great questions. I love how honest you guys are. You always tell me when you're not interested in stuff, and I respect it. But anyway, I will see you guys again next week. Thank you all for being here so much. I love you guys. Love this community so much. I'll see you then. Bye!